We are very fortunate today that in person and in class, we have Peg Pennington, who is the president of MoreSteam, and also a very good friend. And I got to say, Peg, I know people probably talk behind your back a little bit about this, but you're kind of known for being like one of the best lean instructors out there.
I was going to say the same about you.
Well, I aspire to be, to get the kind of ratings that you get when you're up in front of students and things. But it's really good to have you here. I know you're sort of out visiting the West Coast, and I appreciate the fact that you've taken the time to stop in and see us here. So Peg, president of MoreSteam. Presidents are sort of big positions. We use the MoreSteam training here in our class, and so students have been experiencing your product. But what's lean about being president of MoreSteam?
What's lean? So you know what? To me, lean. Let's start with it's about satisfying your customer and getting that voice of the customer. And as Eric was talking to you about getting feedback on the engine room, at any point, you guys can email me, peg@moresteam.com, and tell me, how's your product experience? What's going on? Because our goal, what we're trying to do is to help students, to help organizations learn to solve problems close to where the work is done. So that's kind of our singular focus, So if we're thinking about education in terms of the e-learning, the Sims, traction, all of that together, we want that to work seamlessly to help you learn to solve problems close to where the work is done. So that's what, so lean starts with the customer.
Yeah, and one of the things I really love about working with you and working with MoreSteam is, you practice what you preach, right? You're teaching the stuff, and then you try to apply it and sort of use it within your own business. So when we ask students to do things like a quickie Kaizen and provide sort of feedback on problems, you take that stuff to heart and you try to make changes and try to make improvements.
We do, I can tell you all the things that are wrong if you guys are looking for your quickie Kaizens, but we just had some customer feedback, and we kind of knew this was a nagging thing. You're all familiar with the deeper dives. Do you kind of like, should I read the deeper dive or not? Do you wonder about that? Okay, a lot of people do. Like, how far down the rabbit hole do I go? But some deeper dives are actually on the exam, so I want you to know you should read the deeper dive, okay? Because it could be on the exam. But there's probably a lot of them that have ancillary material. And what we want to do is pull out the material that should be, that you really need to know, and get that into the course. And then if there's ancillary material, if it's lean history, something like that, move that to the side. Well, that's a pretty big project because that involves lots of rewriting. But then we thought, what can we do immediately? We could just take those deeper dives and label them separately. I'll come up with a better name than ancillary material, but just so the students know, like, I really need to know this. And I was just, talking with customers and having those questions about that.
So the students will recognize sort of this. So one of the things that I did in creating my edition of sort of the training. So we do a flipped classroom kind of approach, right? So we were allowed MoreSteam to provide content. This is the stuff students need to know. And then, Wes and I come in and we talk about, the different things, give them a, kind of a little broader context maybe of how the material applies and some of the exercises they're doing. But one of the last things that I have on my slides is something I call hidden gems.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the little nuggets that I found from going on some of those deeper dives that maybe the students, wouldn't sort of recognize or skip or something.
Right.
So yeah, hidden gems is the kind of thing.
Yeah. So just in talking about lean, I think they might be interested in, like a problem for us is in flow, is if you find a problem in our material, or we recognize that something needs to change, we might rewrite it, but then we also have to do audio, okay? So then, because a lot of students, how many of you actually listen when you're going through it? Just maybe online, if ask if they listen.
Yeah, so in the chat, can you type whether you listen or you,
At least 3 or 4 hands up.
yeah, hand raises, yeah, type in the chat whether you listen.
Yeah, I
or
see the
whether
hands
you,
coming up. Well,
so.
interestingly, a lot of people listen, and I think maybe you get tired and you want to listen. So reading and having an audio mismatch, and when I started, that was one of our biggest failure modes, was audio. And it's like, well, we have to fix that. But there's that urgency of, there's a problem, maybe in the material, we want to fix it, but then to get a recording, to have something re-recorded and posted, that's not 5 minutes. That's going to be, that we have to have somebody do that in a studio. So trying to create that process, and now we're in 9 languages. So you make one change in it. So we talk about product complexity, which I'm sure you've talked a lot about at Cal Poly. How does that product complexity create, wow, do I want to make this change? I should make this change, but it, it's going to create $2,500 of work, to change that. But we try to have that now when the audio and the words, the text go together at the same time, to make that marry up.
It's interesting, first we, sit here and listen to you talk about sort of the behind the scenes stuff at MoreSteam that you guys go through. That's almost like, we have sort of a unique opportunity. One of the challenges in teaching students about Lean is a lot of people learn about Lean with the go to the Gemba, right? Or go to the place where the work is done. We have a situation here where the students have been going to like your world, right? So you've created this MoreSteam sort of training world, and they're experiencing it. They've gone to the Gemba. You're also in the Gemba, and now you're sort of communicating, right? So you tell them sort of like, okay, I see this deeper dive thing. Do you know about why this exists or what the issues are?
Right.
So, listen, that was a scratch your head sort of thing. What I wanted to do now is sort of talk. Can you tell, like, how do you become a president of MoreSteam? That a little bit about your Lean journey, maybe.
So
what you've done.
Yeah, so I graduated from Michigan State University, and I worked in industry. I worked for NCR and Emerson Electric, and I had this opportunity to teach at Ohio State, and I took it, and I was there for 18 years. So I was an adjunct there, and I ran a center. I loved it. I was so lucky in my career that I had really good mentors, people that cared about me and allowed me to teach Lean and Six Sigma. I remember this was in 2002. I didn't really know what it was, but I knew I wanted to teach that class, and that opportunity came up, and I'm like, I'm going to do that, So I would encourage you, take those stretch assignments. They're really scary, when you take those stretch assignments, but that's when you're really learning. So I took it, and then just taking those stretch assignments really allowed me to become kind of a big utility player, at Ohio State. And I started using MoreSteam when I was there to teach a class like this. And I was teaching a lot of the Sims, and I got to know them really well. And then the owner of the company asked me, do you want to come to be president? And I said, that sounds scary, but yes, I'm going to leave Ohio State. This is a nice, comfortable position. But I was really interested in Lean and technology. And we have, you can look on our website, we have about 18 developers. So it's really fun thinking about applying those same principles that you're learning about into the world of technology and having lean processes in technology. So I came and I was like an expert in what they teach, but there were so many things I had to learn about marketing, and contracts, development. So it's been, and that was something I just wanted to keep learning. So.
Well, Bay, I'm gonna sort of challenge you or call you on that, because I think, going from like an adjunct to being president of a company, there had to be something in the middle there. And I think, a little bit of your experience with the, being the director for the Center for Operational Excellence and working with all kinds of companies.
Right.
Ohio's sort of a big industrial base, right?
Right.
And so there was a huge amount of exposure, and people got to see, you talking about and your passion for these sorts of topics.
That's,
That was a little bit of secret
Yeah,
sauce there
okay.
that, maybe sort of together. So I want to make sure that the students have opportunities to ask you questions. So, as I say, our phone lines are open.
Yeah.
If you've got a question, either raise your hand in class or on Zoom, and she can take some pretty tough questions.
Yeah, I do a quarterly kind of business update, and I think like my slide, I say, ask me almost anything. But then, I tell them, please ask me anything. They being shy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question about, you mentioned that you have the material that you teach on MoreSteam in 9 different languages, right? So you said that increased complexity. Now I remember one of the classes that we had, we watched a video about this guy who has a manufacturing plant, and he's being targeted to increase the revenue by a certain amount. And so I think main consensus of that was that when you make a decision in improving a process, it has to be in mind with increasing revenue of a business. So when you improve your product by having it multiple different languages, I'm assuming it increased a lot of the expenses for you. But did you do a cost analysis and do it with regards to increasing revenue and actually take that into account, or just do it because you want to improve your product?
Thank you for that question. It's a really good question. A lot of times when we get into, we're going to translate into a new language, it's the customer that's coming to us and they're asking us, and what we'll do is kind of cost share with them. We'll pay for the translation and they'll pay for the development time to make that happen. It is definitely, we need this for our customer base because so many of our companies are Fortune 100 companies, and they say, we want to have a consistent delivery across the world. So I want it to be the same in Europe. I want it to be the same in China. So it makes that as a competitive priority, or it's a competitive advantage for us to have those languages. Sometimes maybe we don't fully understand what the costs are because the upkeep can be big. I would say that. And, just with French, we found to be very particular about the translation, and you'll have different people read it and are like, this is fine. And then other people read it and it's not fine. And finding people that are translators that are also understanding of statistics, right? So think about your material and saying, oh, I need to find somebody in that language that can translate but also understand. So yeah, there's definitely a cost, but we go there when the customer, is taking us there. So thank you.
There's a question from Jack in the chat.
Yeah, Jack, you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Yeah, I was just curious, as acting president of MoreSteam, what's one of your favorite roles you get to take on as being president? Because I've talked to a couple other higher ups, and one of their favorite thing is that they get to take on many different roles inside the company.
You know what, that's a really good question. I do get to teach occasionally and I miss that. So what I've been doing is, there's a book out there from Project to Process by Nick Kirsten, and it's an IT lead book. And I've been taking like some small groups of developers through that book, because if you think about it, my developers, they're computer scientists, they don't know lean, okay? And I want them to really understand that process and really understand, our customer base. But this is really targeted at IT professionals. And then we go through that book together and they see where flow breaks down in the organization. Or, and we talk about, okay, we built a feature like the Gantt chart that just came out, but it can't stop there. It's like, well, was that feature adopted by our customers? Are they aware of it? So let's not think about it as a project, but a process. So that's probably my favorite thing when I have that opportunity to get them in a small group and really work with them and get to know them better. So, and that's way better than legal contracts, which is my least favorite thing. And sometimes our attorney says to me, I know this is getting recorded, he'll say, Peg, that could be considered fraud. He loves to say that to me. I'm like, oh, man. So least favorite and favorite.
Yeah. Very interesting. Any other questions from the audience? So one of the questions, Peggy, we like to ask our celebrities is, the fact is that, we have lean successes and lean failures, and the important thing is that we learn from both, right? So is there any favorite lean success story or lean failure story that you want to maybe share with the students?
I'm thinking on that.
Yeah.
Lean success, I would say, is in just our front end, our customer service. And again, this is from MoreSteam. Right, maybe 2 years ago, people would still have, you forget your password, you would have a problem logging in. And if you try 3 times, you're gonna get shut up. Hopefully that hasn't happened to anyone, okay? But and we had a lot of that, and people calling in or emails and trying to fix that. So all our support tickets, so that was kind of a messy thing, in terms of the support that was coming in. So support would be, Eric would email me and I would put in a chat to somebody, or they would call me, things like that. So support things were just kind of floating out there. We never knew how many do we have, who's working on them. So we got really good religion around intake. Okay, so even if you call me and tell me, Peg, there's a problem with this test, I'm gonna fill out a support ticket. Anybody in the company is like, you gotta put that in the support email.
Mm-hmm.
So we can all see that and start tracking that. So it's really about getting that measurement and that control system in place. And then we could kind of Pareto and say, what are these problems and why are people having password problems? Well, if you copy, when you get your original email from us, that welcome to, and they might copy a space, that would create a failure mode. Or if they had a space at the beginning and you couldn't see it, those would create failure mode. So we just kept that continuous improvement, and to the point of, if we send emails out, companies will say, we're enrolling 50 people, and they'll send us the wrong email address, okay? And then class starts and, Joe doesn't have it, MoreSteam, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, we can see when those email addresses don't go out.
Right.
That failure mode, and we can start working to solve that for the customer. And those are just kind of little small things, but they make a big difference in terms of customer service. And so we have control charts. And we chart that and we look at how many failure modes there are of what type, and if there's an uptick, we can, get on that and see, did something change? Is there a problem? So that was just really looking at, working with the team, and the team had all the ideas, but we used a lot of root cause analysis, in terms of tools to align that.
But I also, like, one of the things I take away from that too is just the magic of providing visibility, right?
Yeah,
So we are trying to, one of our big experiments, last quarter, this quarter, starting to use the check sheet
right.
to see the
right.
frequency of the different problems and things, and if they recur or not. But even just getting everybody to put their information on tickets, so as opposed to it being, on sticky notes or in your head, it's all in one place, and you can, then you're on the way to solving the problem, right? If you can see it.
So in terms of lean could be better for us, if we were a huge, like Chase Bank, we had a huge dev shop, and you had all those support tickets, they would go to the rework department. Okay, there'd be like a team that's over here, the fix-it department of developers. Then you would have the team of, we get to work on the cool new stuff. Okay, my team's not that big, so the fix-it flow is coming in on top of the,
Cool stuff.
the cool stuff flow.
Yeah.
So we call them orange tickets. It just came up a long time ago. We call these orange tickets, and now at least we try to dedicate somebody to orange tickets daily. But that does break the flow of people that are working on cool new things,
Right.
and I haven't mastered that, and to figure out, like, I would kind of like maybe a fix it, but the developers are like, nobody wants to do that. Fix it work,
Yeah.
right? So there's like, I can't make, well, the ideal lean state would be, you don't have problems, you don't
Right,
release code that has problems, so, figuring out the fix it work, and then somebody else is asking, where's that cool new stuff? And you're like, oh, I had a fix it, a new fix it come in. So managing that capacity is really hard, and managing the expectations on, the outcoming cool new stuff, that gets difficult.
Yeah, and so that's what we were talking earlier about, like standard sort of fixes for like known problems. And that mix problem, happens in a lot of flows, right?
Right.
Different mixes. And, the lean solution is a Japanese term, is hijunka, right? Leveling the flow. And, you know this stuff, better than me, but, if there was some sort of thing where, every day you need to do 2 fix-its before you can work on the cool stuff. It's kind of like eat your spinach, get your dessert, right?
Right.
And that becomes like sort of the routine or the level load of doing things.
I was gonna say, maybe like last, I think it was December, that log4j vulnerability came in. That was a huge, software failure that impacted a lot of systems. Well, that impacted us as well, and our suppliers, it just was a crush on us with like, did you fix this? And us having to fill out a lot of vendor certificates, and that's just totally unplanned. That you just kind of have to drop everything and hurry up and fix those vulnerabilities.
Yeah, and I guess that also sort of speaks to like another sort of behavioral change, as Wes would say, is, what are the rules for how we handle fixes, right? And you just change, like, current rule is we do it whenever we feel like it. The new rule is we've got some sort of priority system or rule for how we handle this stuff. Right?
So in terms of flow, I look at their flow. I so want to draw. Can I just draw? Yeah.
All right. We're gonna. This is where we get the mobile camera thing here. Let's see, I'll be the cameraman.
Okay.
Camera person, yeah, that sounds better.
So at any one time, like in a sprint, you need to look at what they're working on. We want to maximize this, cool new stuff, minimize the fix it. But then there's this ugly thing out there called tech debt. Okay, and tech debt is just software that you have to upgrade. Okay, and you have to, if you don't work on this, you guys remember Flash?
Yeah.
That was like a long time ago, and Flash died. We had Flash throughout our entire course, and we have been spending years, like thousands and thousands of Flash funds fixing this, and then security. And this is huge for us with Engine Room. We spend so much time on, making sure people try to hack into MoreSteam. I know it seems crazy. Like sometimes it cracks me up, like, oh, Ped, we had a big penetration attempt. And I'm like, oh yeah, let's get some free Lean Six Sigma software, I don't, but it's, you still have to really protect yourself from those vulnerabilities. So at any one time, all of these things are getting worked on, but it's really hard to maintain flow when you're going through this. And then we track it like this, so you can see from sprint to sprint if quality becomes really big. Okay, then there's a lot of rework, and that's what I try to bring in. Is like, well, let's look at what kind of problems are you fixing. Can we build in test scripts ahead of time, so when you push that to production, that it works right the first time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense to everybody?
And I also want to say, so I'm gonna kind of, get in this side of the shot here. If you, for your improvement, you propose that now this is the way we're gonna look at our work. Here's, this little diagram showing you how you're gonna look at your work. You can hand this in as your improvement, right? This is sort of the change to how we look at our work, right? We look at it as, these specific parts, and that's going to help us better manage our DevOps or
Right,
whatever.
but it's funny because when I talk to marketing, the marketing department, all they care about is this. Like, when is that new stuff coming? And I can't, they don't care. It's like, you just make it right, make it work. And I'm like, well, we have a huge upgrade coming, so that we can be more secure. And we have to do this. And some of this work, it's not pretty. It's not sexy. It's just kind of, you got to grind it out and get that done. Otherwise, your system won't be, I'm not going to be able to fill out those great vendor certificates to say how secure we are.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry.
No, that's
It's easier
okay.
if
No,
I had to get up.
yeah, you had to get. So let's go ahead and we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up.
Oh, shoot.
See how we
That's so
can
much fun.
do that. So, Peg, thank you so much for taking the time out to, come here and visit with the students. We want to make sure, I want to get some photographs of Peg and I sort of doing this interview. So Wes, maybe you can pop in there and do that. And or you need that. There we go. We're back in business. Thanks.
Ignore this.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So I'm trying to think where was I go? Oh yeah. Just thank you, Peg, for being here and do this. We want to take some pictures. I know what I was going to say. So we want to get some pictures of Peg with the students. Not right now, but before we leave, let's make sure we get some photos taken. And then Peg, one of the ways we wind up these interviews is we ask you, with your experience in Lean and all the stuff you've done. We got 80-some students just starting out on their Lean journey. If you had to give them one piece of advice, what would that piece of advice be?
Oh, you know what? I'll go back to that when I was talking about earlier about stretching yourself. It really is about never stop learning. And, in your career, take those stretch opportunities. I mean, that's where you're really going to grow and really going to learn. So I wish you the best of luck. And again, Peg at MoreSteam, if you have any feedback for me, I'd love to hear it. Thank you.
All right, good. Thank you, Peg.
Yeah.